Thanks for joining us and welcome to our segment on U-Cara Modular System. This is a system we introduced in early 2020, largely in response to the feedback that we got from you out in the field. 2018, 2019, we heard a lot about a challenging labor market and how things just became more difficult in terms of availability of labor and also with the inexperience of the available labor. And when you combine that with the fact that building verticals is costly and time consuming, it really gave us an opportunity to look at things and say, what can Unilock do to bring something to you guys to make it easier, more efficient, and more profitable to build verticals?
Labor is one of our most valuable resources and biggest challenge in business. And by incorporating a system like the U-Cara Modular, we're able to leverage our labor in the right areas to maximize profits. We really believe with this system that it's truly easy to learn. You can truly build verticals in hours, not days, and then minimal experience required. What do I mean by that? Typically, those that are building grill islands and kitchens is typically your most skilled labor on the job site, your foreman, your number one guy. With this system, we really believe your number two or your number three guy is ultimately the guy that can be building your most profitable components on your job site, saving the time for your number one guy to be setting up the job, setting grade, planning for the next steps ahead, or setting the steps, other hard parts of the project as well. So with that, let's take a review at some of the projects that were completed in 2020 for some inspiration to start off with. So as you can see here with this project here, absolutely stunning. They were able to create an L-shaped kitchen, which we're going to show you how to create today. With this one that they did, they actually took the grill island and the bar at two different heights. They were able to set the grill at 36-inch height for grill height, and then were able to set the bar at 42 inches for pub height. They also incorporated a trash bin, a fridge, and then the door set and grill as well. And as you can look in the background there, you can see that it ties in nicely with the backer system, the SureTrack backers, the large and small, in the fire pit and the seat well application. And one thing that's really neat is they also use the Ucara pillar system in this pillar application. Here's another one, L-shaped kitchen. Absolutely love this. One feature I truly like is this project incorporated one of the bottle openers for the beer bottle. This one is absolutely stunning. Here they took a grill cabinet and made it a little bit longer to create more buffet space, or where they can put the raw food while they're getting the grill ready, or they're able to put the cooked food once they're done so people can grab their food and take it from there. Also take note, they incorporated the Ucara pillar unit that you'll see today as well. So how do you install these base cabinets on your project? What goes on underneath? It all starts with the base. Now when you're installing one cabinet at a time, we feel that it's suitable to put it on the universal base units as a foundation. But whenever you expand to multiple units, like you're going to see today, we recommend you putting that on a concrete footer, like what you see here, on a 4 to 6 inch layer of concrete with sonotubes going down below. Now one might ask, why do you need all that? Is it heavy? No, it's not. These systems are pretty lightweight. What we're trying to do with that concrete footer is to protect that granite that ultimately is going to be put on top, because if any movement we might get is ultimately going to hurt that granite, and in some cases that granite could cost more than the whole system put together.
And while we believe that in most of the applications, these two methods are going to be what you're going to follow, also want to make mention that in some markets, outdoor amenity roof deck spaces have become very, very popular. A lot of these cities where they're being built up as opposed to being built out. So keep in mind, because of the lightweight nature of this system, it can be installed on a pedestal system. You definitely want to coordinate with the pedestal manufacturer and have an engineer, an expert in that area assist you, but they're lightweight, very suitable for that type of application. Now, I want to talk about some other opportunities with this system as well. Don't just think about this as it's a new construction, new build system where it's going to just help you be faster and more efficient. That's what it's designed to be, but you've got some other options as well, like cutting this into an existing patio. This is a picture from an outdoor idea center at one of our locations that was being updated. And you'll notice they had to cut out the existing pavers a little wider than the actual cabinet to accommodate for the panels and attaching those panels. If you cut that opening to the size of the finished size of that cabinet, you won't be able to get that bottom course of panels in. So they cut it wider and finished it off nicely with a quartz stone accent. Another great opportunity is over existing concrete. This is a very quick project that you can do. You can see there's two guys working on that right now. One guy's finishing up attaching two cabinets together. The other guy's down inside using a concrete fastener, attaching that cabinet down to the concrete. Between this crew that worked on this project, a little bit of help from their local territory manager, they were able to assemble these cabinets, get the panels on, install the grill and the doors, and put the pergola up all in one day. Very quick in and out project, and really transformed that backyard space for that homeowner. And then one final opportunity I want to point out is on decks. In this example, this deck is being rehabbed. They have the Silica grate that they're putting over the entire surface. You can see they've integrated our pillar units. Because of the lightweight pillar unit, no problem putting it over an existing deck structure. And then they took it to a whole nother level by building a wall around it to tie in the pillars with the wall around that entire deck. So don't just think of it as a new construction system. Lots of opportunities because of the lightweight nature of this system.
So at this point, we're going to talk about the individual units themselves so you can truly understand what's going on with all the different components. You really have 3 components to keep in mind, and then on top of that, you have some supplemental things, accents or other options to make your project truly unique. So the 3 basic units that you have is the standard base unit that you see here. The next one is the corner unit that you see here. And lastly, the most popular one is the grill cabinet. We're going to start there. So the grill cabinet that you see here is 64.5 inches in length by 27.5 inches in depth. 2 of the big key features with the grill cabinet is the already determined grill door opening with the lintel installed for you. So therefore your panels are going to hang over seamlessly. And then comes to the universal grill opening that you see here. Notice there's a bar all the way across. This is going to be some slight modifications for you depending on your grill with this bar here. Let me talk about that here next. What you're going to do with this bar is you're going to measure off the grill and find your center mark. And you're going to mark that right there at 32.25 inches. You're going to put your mark there, and then you're going to go to your grill. Let's say it's here. We're going to measure the rough cutout of our grill. And if that grill is 30 inches, we're then going to go from that center mark and mark a 15-inch mark and cut it right there. Put our mark at 15 inches and put the cut right there. Once we have our marks for our cutout, for our opening, we're going to now just take a simple angle grinder and make those cuts. This brings me to my next component. This is a top strut for your grill opening. It's going to be included in your grill cabinet as well as your base cabinet that I'm going to talk about here next. So once you make that cut, you're now going to take this strut and you're going to install it at that cut part. Now, one thing I want to make mention is it's just a piece of angle iron with a tab on the end with a hole already there to send your self-tapping screw in. Okay? So once you have your cut, this tab is going to come from the bottom up, and it's going to create a flush feel for support with your countertop and your grill. At that point, you're going to be able to take and bring your self-tapping screw and drill from the bottom up on the front and back to attach that. All the self-tapping screws are included, and Eric's going to show you that here next. Once you send that screw through, you're going to then take your angle grinder and cut that screw off nice and flush so your countertop will sit on there nicely. So you can install this grill cabinet as a standalone unit, or in our case today, we're going to install this as an L-shaped kitchen like we're going to show you here. I'm going to have the guys come in and give me a hand with this. As you can see, really lightweight, easy to carry, and set right in place. That next unit that we're going to talk about is the corner cabinet. And I'm going to just give it a quick spin here. The corner cabinet, same as the depth of the grill cabinet, 27.5 by 27.5. Notice the rails are available to accept the panels on the front or on 2 sides. Now on the back side, it's open. Why is it open? I want to make quite clear that when we designed this system, it was designed to be an a la carte system. So therefore, you can add multiple units onto this system and keep it going. I'm going to talk about that here a little bit more. We're going to install this right into that grill cabinet. So now that we've got the corner cabinet installed, I want to talk about the feature of a la carte. So you have the option to extend this and start to bring off your L kitchen, which we're going to talk about, but you also have the option to have a separate component, which we call an end clad, that would get installed right here, like you saw in that photo with that project where they were able to create a buffet space. So we're doing our grill in here, and we've got our food or beverages laid out right here. Next, we're going to talk about the base cabinet. So the base cabinet you see here is the same dimensions as the grill cabinet. 64.5 inches in length, 24 inches in depth. Exactly the same. Some of the big difference is it doesn't have the door opening and the grill opening. Other than that, it's the same thing. Now, it's also going to include the same strut that you saw here. I'm going to set that off to the side. Now, one of the things I want to mention on the base cabinet is the struts that you see here, the vertical struts. In this case, these vertical struts are spaced out at 27.5 inches to accommodate a larger fridge. On the back side, this spacing is a little bit different, as I'll show you. When I roll this cabinet forward, you'll notice that the struts are now equal distance apart. This is going to give you the option as the installer or the designer to choose how you want this to be oriented. This could be the front or the back. It doesn't matter. So if you got a client that says, hey, you know what? I want a trash bin and I want a set of drawers. That's all I need. You can do that and put this panel on the inside of your L-shaped kitchen or bar or whatever that might be. Your next client might say, you know what, Sean? I want a bigger fridge. I want to hold more beverages in there. You can have this one shown on the inside. Now, talking about that a la carte. Again, when you get a base cabinet, a grill cabinet, it's going to come hollow on the end. It's going to have this strut that's going to come with it. Notice that the angle iron has a square welded in with a hole. That's going to go right where you see here, and a bolt's going to go through that hole and attach it to the front and back panel to make it secure. Now, in the event that you want to finish it on the end, you're going to use what we call an end clad. So in replace of those rails, you're going to put a whole panel in here called an end clad that's going to simply bolt into place. We're going to now carry this one in place. So you can see, again, drive the point home of lightweight. Now, one of the big features of the Ucara modular system being lightweight is, I want you to think about this. You would normally build these out of those concrete backers, the SureTrack backers, large or small, whatever you choose. But one cabinet alone is going to save you 3,600 pounds of concrete that you do not have to move with your hands. You can see how much easier, less effort it took to set these units, and now we're ready to start attaching them together and putting the panels on. Eric's going to walk us through on attaching the cabinets together.
Thanks, Sean. So the first thing you want to do is obviously make sure that this unit is where you want it to be on the job site. Get this positioned where you need it, and then when you go to attach the cabinets to one another, it's very important that you make sure that they're aligned, they're flush, everything's nice and even. So I always recommend using clamps to make sure everything's held together in place. So I'm going to flush these up right here. Simply pull them together, flush them up where they need to be, clamp that nice and snug, and do the same thing on the other side just to make sure that everything's locked together and nothing's going to move on me. We've got our pack of self-tapping screws that was included with your hardware with the system. Now I'm going to attach 4 screws, 2 to each side, to make sure this is nice and securely fastened together. So once you've got all 4 of those screws mounted on there, these 2 are nice and solid, you can go ahead and remove the clamps, and this is essentially one cabinet now. We would then continue on to our next cabinet, follow the same process, flush this up, square this up, clamp it nice and snug. One thing you may see when you zip that self-tapping screw in, you may want to try and push the metal pieces apart as you're drilling through each piece. So it's a good idea to drive that through, create that hole, back the screw out just a little bit, and then reset it, drive it all the way back in to pull those pieces of aluminum nice and tight together. Now, additionally, I want to talk about a couple of improvements and enhancements we've made to the system for 2021. We've made some changes in the manufacturing process that if you've used the system before, you'll probably notice. One of those being the actual rail that you're going to mount your Ucara fascia panels onto. Traditionally, what this has been since we created this system was this was bent on an aluminum brake to give you that angle for the panel to hang on. Going forward, that's going to be an extruded piece. It's also going to be a little bit thicker gauge, so it's going to be a little stronger, a little heavier for you. Not going to add weight to make it noticeably more heavy on the whole unit, but it's going to be a stronger rail for holding the panels. The other thing that's changed is there's been some improvements in the manufacturing process that have taken the welding and the fabrication of this to another level. It's going to be a cleaner, finished product when you get it to the site. So a couple things that, like I said, if you've used this before, you'll probably notice these as we transition into these new products.
So at this point, we're going to start talking about the packaging as Eric comes around as we get set up for the pillar. So when you get a cabinet or modular cabinet to your job site, ultimately this is how it's going to arrive to your job. It's going to have this type of cardboard wrapped around it. You're going to see a tag on it that's going to identify the component. Make sure you check this tag to make sure it's the right component for you before you go ahead and rip all these bands off. Also, just keep in mind that this is aluminum and it's in a cardboard box. So just don't throw it in the back of your truck and put a strap over it and reef it down. Be very cautious with it. Be careful with it. And this goes to the dealers as well as the contractors.
So once you've unboxed your pillar unit, you're going to find there's 4 pieces, 2 of each of 2 different components. You're going to have what is the wider panel here. And inside that wider panel, you're going to find those support struts or support rails that Shaun had mentioned previously. You may or may not use these on the top of this cabinet to support your pillar cap, depending on how you're using this on the project. If you've got a post running through here, if it's just a cap, these may or may not be needed, but they're included for you in case you do need them. Another important note, if you want to remove these, always being safe with your knife, of course. So there's my first 2. Behind my next 2, I'm going to find my hardware pack. So this is where your self-tapping screws and your bolts and lock washers are going to be contained to construct this cabinet. So we went ahead and mocked this up. We've got it about 3/4 of the way constructed with 3 of the panels. We're going to add the 4th one here. Now, if you're like me, your initial inclination is going to be to grab your drill or your impact, put a socket or a nut driver on it, and drive those bolts into the cabinet. What I'm going to recommend is just hand tightening these to start. This system was designed to be quick, to be easy. It's already a fast build. You don't need to take that impact to try and speed it up. And the danger of using the impact is you may actually potentially over tighten these, damaging the cabinet. But more importantly, like I mentioned with the L-shaped kitchen, you want to make sure everything's nice and flush, square, and aligned. And if you use that impact, you may just drive that in too fast to where you're not able to keep it aligned. So I like to put all the bolts in finger tight or just snug them up. And once I have them all in, at that point, I'm simply going to come through with my ratchet. And once they're all aligned and snug, I just tighten them up to make sure it's finished off. Nice and snug on both of them. Now to finish this off, you just simply flip this cabinet upside down. Easy for one guy to do with the pillar. Some of the bigger cabinets, grab one of your fellow crew members, flip that over, tighten the rest of the bolts. Now one other feature I want to show you that's important on these cabinets, I'm going to spin it 90 degrees so you can see it. You'll notice that on one side of this you're going to have the rails attached with self-tapping screws as opposed to being welded on. What this is going to give you the ability to do is to very easily remove these rails to provide access to the interior of that cabinet. And this is critical because in this case, for my pillar, I would want to actually remove probably my bottom 3 rails so that I can get inside there and I can fasten this cabinet down to the concrete or down to my base pad so I know it's nice and snug, it's secure, it's not going to go anywhere. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Shaun, and he's going to talk about the panel layout for this system.
Eric, that was a great explanation on how to build a pillar. And guys, I want to make mention so you guys are fully aware, that's how hard it is or easy it is to build any of the cabinets that you've seen here today, whether it's the grill cabinet, base cabinet, corner cabinet, or the pillar. 8 bolts, take your time, about 10 minutes, it's all put together. So now that we've got the aluminum part taken care of, we're going to transition into actual installing the panels and the proper process in doing that. So I want to walk through the actual individual panels. Eric, would you mind grabbing me a standard panel? So there's really 3 panels that you need to think about when building your Ucara modular system or Ucara in general. And that is a half panel, a closed end panel, a corner, and a standard panel. Now with that being said, the closed end panel and the half panel are packaged together. They're sold to you as a set because we believe that you need both of these to truly make the corner. This half panel, along with the closed end, is what completes the whole corner process that you'll see here today. So with that being said, on a pallet, you're going to receive 4 rights and 3 lefts on every layer of your product. Now, how do you determine which one's a right and which one's a left? I'm going to walk you through that. So notice that it's finished on the end as well as the face. On the other end, it's not finished. So the best way to determine which one is which is hang it in your hand. If it's upside down, it won't hang in your hand. It'll slip right out. So make sure it's upside right, hang it in your hand. It's facing you. Whatever end it's finished on makes it either a right, in this case it's a right, or in this other case would be a left, of course. So here we have a right, and in this case we have a left. So again, holding it in my hand, it's facing me, it's finished on the left. That makes it a right. So now let's start talking about panel layout with a standalone grill cabinet and how it all works out. As you can see here, we started with the right. The first one we started with was a right-hand closed-end unit. On the back side, we've incorporated that half. And that half is going to give us that half brick offset that we want to have with Ucara. The next course up is a left closed end. You're going to see the closed end of it. Then again, immediately following is the half unit. After the half unit, we go to a standard unit and another standard unit, and then we go to a left. So in reverse, I'm going to back up a little bit. Your first course on this standalone grill island is going to be rights all the way around. This is a right, half, standard, right, half, and then it's going to go to another right all the way around, achieving your installation with 0 cuts other than the door and the grill, what you'll see here next. So the first course is rights, second course are left. At this point, my helpers are going to come in and we're going to start to lay up some more Ucara panels on this project here. So what Chris is doing here now is he's setting his third course with his right panel. He set his first half as a return automatically. Remember, I want to keep this in mind. That half is crucial to keep that half brick offset. Andrew's doing the same down here. Again, he put in a left for his third course, and then a half immediately followed around. And now Andrew's on his fourth course. He's got a right installed here, and then 2 halves to work out for the door. So at this point, we're going to start to incorporate our door. We're going to install our door at this point. Once we get to 4 courses high, we want to start pausing with the panels and think about our door. I'm going to talk about that here now. So here is our door unit that we have. It is a flush mount door unit that is an upgraded door model for 2021. I'll talk about the previous model here in a second. When you open this up, you'll see on the inside there's flanges to mount this door to the cabinet itself. You'll see that there's horizontal grooves to adjust that door in and out, as well as vertical grooves to adjust that door up and down. I'm going to have Chris install this door for us. What Chris is doing now is he's adjusting that door right and left to make sure he gets the right positioning that he wants. So for today only, for demonstration, we're going to simply just put in 2 screws. Typically, you'd put 2 on each side, but keep in mind, the flush mount door creates a nice reveal around your Ucara panels. This is an upgrade over our previous door model that was more of what we call a masonry door. It had a bump out to bring concrete to. This created challenges when these were installed because it would create potential knee busters on people's knees as they're standing at the grill. We really feel that this door is a major improvement to the door. You guys asked for that and we listened and we've upgraded it. Now we're going to start with our 5th course of Ucara panels. Go ahead. Oh, I got you. So the next piece here that we have is our first cut that we've got. Andrew's already got his first right installed here as we go, and then we get into our first cut. The first cut that we have with the job is simply a rip cut at the dimension you need to fit on the rail and slide behind the door. So what we're going to do, like Chris did already, put it on the rail and we're going to slide in. We're going to be careful that we don't jam it and push that closed end out too far. We want to make sure we maintain flush on that far right of that cabinet. Thank you, Chris. The next cut, the second cut on the entire project, is one more standard panel cut with an L in it to go around the door here. Again, we're going to slide it right in place. Again, being very careful that I don't jam it through and send that closed end off. At this point, Chris is going to finish our closed end. Got one standard right here for you, Chris. Yep. So now we're entering our last course, our 7th course, and that is going to be your right. Now in this course, there's going to be 2 cuts as well for your grill opening. We're going to show you that here now. So the first one that Chris is going to set is going to be a half panel that's going to do the return after the closed end, and then another half panel that's been a cut to accommodate the grill opening. Remember, we cut that steel right here with that support, right? That half panel is going to be a cut right at that support. He's got his right-hand closed end unit. Next is going to be down here on Andrew's end, which is also a cut. This is a closed end right that we've cut to length to fit the size of our grill. Notice there's no rail here. The amount of rail that we've included here will allow the panel to cantilever over and support it just fine for you. I'm going to flush it up on the end. Of course, we'd finish it off with a half and then continue all the way around. But you could see here, by working the 2 ends in the front, we're able to incorporate this whole project with 4 cuts, 2 around the door and 2 around the grill. At this point, we're going to go ahead and install the grill for you. So in your project, you're obviously going to utilize potentially a 1-piece countertop. In this case, for demonstration purposes, we're using 2 pieces of Arcana that we've modified to fit the cabinet perfectly. Watch how easy it is to slide the grill in. Up on the right. Thanks, guys. The support of the grill is crucial by the countertop and that strut piece that we put in place. These grills literally just sit on the flange that is already provided with these grills here. Now, one thing that comes into play is homeowners sometimes want counter space behind the grill. They don't want just a grill island. They want deeper space. They might want to incorporate a backsplash so it's grill height on this side, pub height on this side. So one thing that you could do is extend the bar depth. Now, as I come around here, I referenced earlier the end clad, right? This is the end clad that you saw on the end of the L-shaped bar or on the end of the grill. The same as the end clad that we have on this grill cabinet here. This goes in place of those strut pieces that you send the bolts through, okay? This allows you to put the panels on the end. If you want to make any of your cabinets wider, you can do that by simply introducing what we call an oversized end clad that we have here. This oversized end clad allows you to have further depth with your cabinets and gives you great flexibility with your designs. I'm going to show you now how the panel layout changes when introducing the wide end clad. Thank you, Andrew. So in the standard end clad, like how it's finished on the end here, it would look like this. You have the right on the bottom, the half, the second course would go to a left, to a half, to the butt end of the left, and then right, and so on all the way up. The oversized unit is going to be a little bit different. It's going to change the way of thinking, where we normally do all rights on one, all lefts on another. In this case, what we're going to be doing is on the far right here, we're going to be doing a right closed end. It's finished on that end. And then it's going to be a left. Then we're going to be using a right, the butt end of the right, a half, a standard, a half, and then a left. As you can see, we were able to maintain our half brick offset all the way up this end of the bar here by utilizing the oversized cabinet system. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Eric, where he's going to talk about panel layout and some modifications that you need to do when working with the L-shaped kitchen.
Thanks, Sean. So as we've mentioned multiple times, with this system, we've really designed it to minimize or virtually eliminate your cuts on your concrete. So when it comes to the L-shaped kitchen here, obviously you're going to have to make some modifications as we talked about before when it comes to the grill and modifying for the door. But really, the rest of this cabinet's been designed to really reduce your cuts. So similar to how you would build a retaining wall, start on your corners and then work towards the middle. So on the front side here, on this inside corner, you're probably going to have to make a few cuts in here, and the best thing to do in this situation is alternate your cut on each course. So if you cut on this side on your first course, cut on this side on the second course, and then back to the other side. That would really sawtooth in those panels and make it look as if they're all integrated and this is built together, not just a face on the cabinet. Another important thing I want to mention, and Sean kind of talked about this with the oversized end clad. So two good rules of thumb to keep in mind. The first one is if you're using an odd number of modular units, take the grill, standalone grill for example. You're going to start with the right corner set. As always, the corner set is that closed end and the half together. That's the corner set. Start with that on your first course, complete all the way around, and then alternate to the left for the second course, back to a right for the third course. When you combine multiple units and you have an even number of units in line with each other, so as you can see here in this example, we've got cabinet 1, cabinet 2. This is going to change your panel layout. And the reason for that is because we've designed it to eliminate or reduce the cuts. Each one of these cabinets individually is built to a size to accommodate that half panel as part of the corner set. When you put two cabinets together, you have those two half panels. That now makes a whole panel. So you're going to use a combination of rights and lefts on your first course. So if you lay it out and you think something's not right, I got to make a cut here, back up a second and think about using the rights and the lefts. The best example I can give is that oversized end clad that Sean talked about. You can see on the bottom, as he talked about, we've got a closed end right and a closed end left on one side. So when you're combining multiple cabinets, it's going to look like this, just stretched out over a longer run. So the next thing we want to show you is another component. It's the backsplash. You know, Sean talked about making a wider depth cabinet. You may want to put a backsplash on there. Maybe it's up against a hedgerow, or you've got some gardening behind it that you don't want anything to fall off into that area. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So this is part of our corner backsplash set. We sell a couple different versions of the backsplash. There's a long backsplash to go on the grill or the bar cabinet, and then there's a corner backsplash kit that's actually going to be two pieces. They're going to come together to complete your backsplash on that corner cabinet of that L-shaped kitchen. Now the same thing applies with this as what I spoke about when we were combining the cabinets or when we were building the pillar. You want to make sure everything's nice and flush and aligned correctly before you attach this. So let me grab my drill. It's worth taking an extra moment just to make sure that everything's lined up the way you want it and need it to be, to avoid some headaches with the panels down the road. Now you've got two options when you're fastening this. I'm using the long bit to go down through the top. You could also take the drill from underneath and drill up through the cabinet into the backsplash. It's really your choice. Whichever one is best for you, that's the option you should go with. Once we've got that on there, now we're ready to add our panels. So because we started with a closed end right on the bottom, we went up an odd number of courses, we're at a closed end right again here. We're going to put a closed end left on this back side. Now this is an area where you will have a couple small modifications to the panels. You will have to cut a few to accommodate the backsplash. And particularly because we're wrapping a very small corner here. We've got a closed end left. We're utilizing another closed end left, but we've cut it down to the length that we need for this backsplash. Now we're simply using the half panel as a return as part of our corner set. In this case, another closed end left to round the back side of the cabinet. Once again, another closed end piece. We've cut it down to the width of that backsplash. And then we're finishing it off with the half panel. At this point, this is the perfect size for us to be able to put a nice coping on here to finish this off. I'd put a glue bead down the aluminum. I'd also put a glue bead along the panels as well, so that you've got that concrete, then the glue, then the concrete, nice solid connection. And as you can see, closed end ledge stone really finishes this off nicely on the backsplash.
That's a great add, Eric. That's one unique way to truly take these modular units and make your project truly custom. Now keep in mind, you also have the option of putting the 14-inch piece of ledge stone on here for a little bit bigger depth, or any granite that you might use. Next, we're going to turn this over to Bruce. We've got a special treat. Bruce Walters from Chicago, one of the pioneers of the U-Cara Modular System, shot this video back in the summer where he talks about how you plunge cut your modular systems to add accessories like fridges, drawers, and doors options as your system. At this point, we're going to tune it over to him, and then we'll come back with some adds to his video. Thanks.
Now, one of the things that I want to go over on this is we're going to cut the refrigerator door in here. So again, using the material and dimension, I decided to use this here, which coincides to an inside bracket that we've got there. So this inside bracket that you're seeing at this point coincides with my fascia material, right? I'm going to cut that opposite side in this area here. That's going to be a little loose steel that we're cutting in conjunction with the concrete. One of the things that we're going to try today is cutting both of them at the same time. So I'm going to use the cutoff saw, I'm going to throw water at it, we're going to see if this actually works. All right, worked out pretty well. Again, you know, PPE, proper protection, when you're cutting like that on a horizontal plane, especially with the water and stuff like that on that chop saw. I know I had to twist my guard around a little bit more to make a plumb cut like this. One of the things that I like though is this is a little bit like cutting concrete with wire meshing it, okay? So cutting the concrete itself as well as the steel behind it. I think the nice thing about this is that the brackets here actually held the material in place and allowed me to make that without having to move that. So I think it's one thing to do that gives me the ability to run all your material on a kitchen installation and then cut these in afterwards. So that's kind of unique to the cabinet system, all right? But again, I'll work this opening a little bit. We'll take some of these panels off and do them a little bit more manually out of the table saw.
Thanks, Bruce. That was a great video. Really gives you an idea of how you can easily incorporate those refrigerators or those components into this system. Another really common modification, and Shaun referenced it earlier, is adding that larger door below the grill. You know, that door that it comes with, it's nice and compact, nice and clean size, but it is a little small if you need to get in there and swap a propane tank or get in there to turn off your natural gas shutoff. So a lot of people want to make that grill door size width wider. So I'm going to show you today here basically really quickly and easily how to do that. We've mentioned before that you're going to get a lot of different components, and based on how you're building your system, you're buying things a la carte, you're going to end up with some extra support bars and those support bars from the top. So save those. Don't ever get rid of those. Make sure you're hanging on to them because you're probably going to be able to find uses for them, and this is a great example of that. So right here we've got our grill opening. If I want to make this grill opening, say, 8 inches wider, I'm simply going to have to move this support 4 inches this way and this support 4 inches this way. Using one of the extra pieces from the components, I can simply tuck this in back behind the rails after I measure out that 4 inches back to where I need it to be. An important note with this, you want to make sure that this angled aluminum is facing the right direction based on the side that you're on. So if I'm going to put it over here on the right, I need a flat surface for my rails to attach to and a flat surface to be able to mount my door to. If I were to put this in this way, I'm going to have a real hard time attaching my door. So make sure it's this way on the right, and then it would be this way on the left. Same thing, facing my rails, and then inside that door opening. So once I've measured both those out, I can come in here 4 inches over from where I was, and I'm simply going to take those included self-tapping screws and my drill, and I'm going to drive those in just below that top rail. I'm going to do that on every single rail to make sure it's a nice solid connection. Once I've mounted both the right and left bar to adjust the size, now I can go through here with my grinder and very easily, cleanly remove the section I don't need, widening that open for that nice big oversized grill door.
That's a great site modification, Eric. Thanks for sharing that. Now, in closing, I hope you see the benefits of Ucara Modular System, that it gives you a lot of design capabilities with your vertical elements with your project, that you see the benefits of incorporating this into your design, sales, and estimating process. We've heard from contractors that over the last year, they've taken this concept and ran with it. They've already got all the components figured out as far as their estimate, so when they're sitting at the kitchen table, they can quickly tell somebody what a grill island would cost or an L-shaped kitchen would cost. Now, with that being said, if you think we're done with Ucara, I want you to think again. We've got a lot of things down the pipeline that we're really excited about. Keep engaged to see more videos from the pioneers of the Ucara Modular System, Bruce and Augie. We're going to introduce some new components that are going to even elevate the game even more in your 21 season.
And don't forget about those additional opportunities that I mentioned. This isn't just a new build, new construction type of system. Think about that homeowner that was maybe thinking about a grill and didn't do it. Can you go back and cut it in and give them a grill? Those decking opportunities, those over clean concrete opportunities. Look for new and innovative ways to utilize this system to be quick, be efficient, and ultimately to make yourself money. Thanks for tuning in. We encourage you to connect with your territory manager. Unilock's full of experts, and we're here to help.